It begins, as so many great stories do, with a teenager in a dark room, the glow of a monitor, the hum of an old computer fan, and a curiosity too big to contain. His name was Daniel Pierce. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a politician. He was a kid from rural Ohio who liked video games, energy drinks, and solving problems that most of us couldn't even understand. But Daniel had a gift, a mind sharp enough to see patterns where others saw noise. And one night, while digging through obscure corners of the internet, Daniel stumbled onto something he was never supposed to find: a hidden gateway buried deep in a government server. It looked ordinary, lines of code, dusty and abandoned. But what Daniel discovered was anything but ordinary. He found what appeared to be a backdoor into nuclear launch protocols. Not the Hollywood red button, not the dramatic key turns you see in movies, but something quieter, fragile, vulnerable. And if Daniel was right, if what he had uncovered was real, then the fate of millions could hinge on a single line of broken code. At first, he didn't believe it. Why would the world's most powerful governments guard their most terrifying weapons with such carelessness? But the deeper he dug, the worse it looked. Outdated encryption, passwords that hadn't been changed in decades, pieces of Cold War machinery duct-taped into modern systems. To Daniel, it was like watching a skyscraper built on sand, a storm waiting to collapse everything. So he did what he thought was right. He tried to warn them. He sent emails, dozens, to defense contractors, to the Pentagon, to cybersecurity hotlines that promised anonymity and protection. No one answered. Then one night, his inbox lit up. A message from a nameless official. Short, cold. Stop what you're doing, for your own good. What Daniel didn't realize was that he had already crossed a line. In the eyes of the government, he wasn't a good Samaritan. He was a threat, a civilian who had wandered into the darkest corner of national security. And if word got out, it wouldn't just embarrass a few bureaucrats. It could trigger panic, destabilize alliances, even invite enemies to exploit the same weakness he had uncovered. So they did what governments do best. They silenced him. Neighbors noticed unmarked cars parked outside his house. His parents remembered men in suits asking strange questions about their son. Daniel himself became paranoid, convinced his phone calls were being tapped. And then, he disappeared. Officially, the story is clean. Daniel was just another troubled teen. He overdosed. End of file. But friends remember something different. The night before he died, Daniel called one of them in a panic. He said he had proof. He said he was being followed. And then his voice cut off. Here's where things get complicated. Independent cybersecurity experts later confirmed pieces of Daniel's claims. Yes, old nuclear infrastructure had been patched into modern systems. Yes, vulnerabilities existed that could, in theory, be exploited. One analyst told us, "We've built our doomsday weapons like a Jenga tower. Every year we patch the cracks with tape and hope no one shakes it." In 2018, the US government quietly invested billions to overhaul nuclear command and control systems. But if you read the fine print, much of it still runs on software written before most of us were born. So the question lingers. Did Daniel really expose a weakness that could have ended civilization? Or was he just another conspiracy-minded kid who got in too deep? The truth is buried. But the story of Daniel Pierce matters, not just because of what he may have found, but because of what it reveals about us. About how fragile the world really is. How so much power rests on systems built by imperfect people. And how those systems are only as safe as the last time someone cared enough to check. Daniel cared. Maybe too much. Maybe enough to scare people who didn't want to be scared. And maybe that's why he's gone. When we think of World War III, we imagine armies, bombs, tanks rolling across borders. But maybe the real danger doesn't look like that at all. Maybe it looks like an old server in a government basement. Forgotten code. A kid in Ohio staring at a screen, realizing he just unlocked the world's most dangerous secret. And if that's true, then maybe Daniel wasn't trying to start a war. Maybe he was the only one trying to stop it. Soft pause, reflective tone. In the end, no one can say for sure what Daniel found. Maybe the evidence was destroyed. Maybe it was covered up. Maybe it still sits, gathering dust, on a server that no one dares to touch. But what we do know is this. Sometimes the biggest threats to humanity aren't out there, waiting to attack us. They're inside our own walls, in the systems we trust, and in the secrets we're too afraid to confront. Daniel Pierce saw it, and for that, he paid the price. The rest of us are still left wondering, what if he was right?